Why do most real estate investors stay small? Why is it that a lot of real estate investors maybe get a duplex, get a couple single family houses, and that's where they stop? I asked this question sort of anecdotally because I think, like, say, take our mastermind, for example. We help people buy a larger cash flow real estate, cash flow real estate. And the idea is time freedom, right? Use the cash flow to replace your day job, et cetera. But honestly, a lot of people can get a few single family houses and maybe a duplex under their belt. And I think where we better serve our community is people that are already there. Maybe they have a couple $100,000 in equity. Maybe they sold something, they have some cash, and they're like, I got into this game for a reason. I'm nowhere near sort of this like control over my life with time freedom or cash flow like we talked about on a previous episode. But most people stay stuck. I was, and I had the aha because Mitch rarely has ahas. He's got a tiny, tiny little brain, but he's good at talking to prospective people that want to join our elite mastermind. And so I figured, you know what, I'm going to shadow Mitch on one of these calls because how can someone like him say anything intelligently that gives people aha? And two, I just had to babysit him because sometimes he runs his mouth and he's an embarrassment to me. He's an embarrassment to my family, embarrassment to the brand,
to your family.
Yeah, but you said something that was really interesting to me, and it was an aha for me. You were like, and you sort of like talked about this graph. Talk about the graph, and then like, what's the cocktail? Like, what is it that people need to actually scale past that? They know they want control. They know they want to build a portfolio that's actually meaningful to their life, but they get stuck there. So, Mitch, don't embarrass me. Talk about this graph, and let's talk about maybe this cocktail that you talked about that helps people really break through and scale.
Well, yeah. So it's interesting because I talk about this graph, or a better way to say it, I think, is like an exponential line. If you look at an exponential line, it's pretty flat in the beginning. It starts to grow very slowly, right? But then as you go further to the right or the left or whatever, it's going to hit an exponential curve. And I was always obsessed with how to get to this exponential curve in real estate investing, but I couldn't like figure it out. I was like, God, like I'm doing these like single family. I did some land deals. I did like, a small flip. I had a duplex. I had a couple single families in the Midwest. And I had like basically spent a lot of time on this flat area, like with a tiny little bit of growth, right? If again, the curve's like this, but you're spending years and years and years on the flat where you're just barely growing, but you're not getting anything that's impactful. Because on the flat, you're learning things and you're growing very slowly, but it's like, is it impactful to your life? Does it give you control, time, freedom, wealth, cash flow, all those things that you want? Not really. Now, what I realized is that like when we first met, 7-8 years ago, we had both gone through like the flat part of the exponential curve,
which is what most investors.
That's right.
They do that and then they stop, or they get.
That's right, and it's part of the. Arguably some of the hardest times are on that sort of flat part, and the reason is you're going from zero to something, being like it's the first time you talk to a real estate broker, the first time you talk to a lender, it's the first time you go through a transaction, or you get insurance on a property, or you do an inspection, or the first time you manage something, or right? It's all these firsts that happen on the flat part of your exponential curve. Now you might beat yourself up because you've been there for 10 years or 15 years or whatever. I was there for 13 years before I started to scale. The thing is, first of all, and I tell people this all the time, be proud of yourself for where you've come from, okay? Because going from zero to navigating that flat part of the exponential curve, that's your foundation. But I also tell people, don't keep working on the foundation. If I show up on your home site, you're building a house, you're going to build this beautiful house. And the foundation's like built, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. If I walk up and I say, hey, what are you going to do tomorrow? And you say, I'm going to work on the foundation, I'm going to slap you because I'm going to be like, why are you got to build the walls, you got to build the structure, you got to do the finishes, you got to whatever, right? So a lot of people get stuck in the flat part of the exponential curve, and they're sort of hitting their head up against this imaginary ceiling before scale, but they don't know what to do to get to scale. And this is exactly where we were. 2019, we were sitting it might have been 2018, we were sitting in your office and we asked the question, why do some people buy 4 or 5 units their whole life and others go to hundreds or even thousands of units, which at the time was unfathomable. I couldn't even like fathom going to 100 units at the time, right? Because I had spent 13 years getting to 5 units. Okay. So here we are, we're in your office, we're hitting our head against this ceiling, and right above that ceiling, the second we get above the ceiling, we hit exponential curve and we're going to go scale. And we asked ourselves, what in the hell is that thing. Okay. What we found is there's a couple things. There's 5 things that I want to talk about very quickly. We'll mention and we'll dive in more. And then on the side of that, there's probably 5 or 10 limiting beliefs. And we want to talk about some limiting beliefs today. And we're going to probably make this into a little bit of a series. We'll have a couple other episodes about this. The 5 things, and I'll mention those quick, and then we'll talk about limiting beliefs. Here's the point. Let me back up. Where you're hitting the ceiling right here is a number of concepts, of steps, of strategies, and mindset, like rewiring beliefs that if you change those things, you will go scale. Okay. Let me talk about real quick before I get into them. Brenna Vaughn. Okay. We talk about her a lot. She's been in our mastermind for 2 years or so, maybe a little bit over. She came in with 5 units. We taught her these things. Not only did we teach her, but also just being around people in our mastermind, taught her these things. She downloaded these things. She's a hard worker. She changed her mindset. She adopted the 5 concepts that I'm talking about. And today she has about 103 units. She's about to leave her job. Okay. So like, you got to think she went 10, 15 years with 5 units, just like we did. And then once you break through, you're able to hit scale. Now, above this thing, once I'm here, I get back what we talked about on one of our last podcasts. I get back control of my life. I get back, like, I don't care about sticks and bricks, right? Do we love mobile home parks? Do we love apartment complexes, RV parks, blah, blah? Okay. Yes, but we love them for what they get us, right? So the end result, the end thing that we're all chasing, I think, at least I'm chasing, is control over my life, over my time, over my health, over my travel, over my adventure, over all those things. So above this is that control. Okay. I'm going to end 5 things, and I want to get into a couple limiting beliefs because we're not going to have enough time to go over everything. But the concept is you've got to start understanding these things. The first thing is you've got to learn to speak the language. Just like a doctor, a lawyer, or a pilot, or a nurse, or whatever occupation you were in, if I stepped into your occupation today, you're a software developer, and I started talking to all the software developers, I would be completely lost because I have no idea the language. I don't speak the language. It doesn't mesh with me. I can't even so it's the same thing in real estate. You call a broker, a lender, you want to partner with somebody, you got an investor, you got whatever. If you don't know the language, you cannot speak to these folks. And by the way, they're going to sniff you out. They're going to know exactly where you stand. Okay. So the language, to learn the language, there's a number one way to learn the language. People who want to learn Spanish, they get Duolingo, they do all the things here in the States, and there's nothing like full immersion. You go to Spain, you go to Mexico, you have a Spanish-speaking country, you're going to learn that language in a couple months, okay? So you got to get around people speaking the language. That's the first thing. Second one, you got to understand the deal, the underwriting, how to negotiate, how to find, how to source, all those things, how to make the deal. If you like what you're hearing so far and you are not making at least $120,000 a year with cash flow real estate or have millions of dollars in equity, come check out our 0 to 100 elite community. The link is below. Check it out. The third one, and I'll go through these quickly, and then I want to get into some limiting beliefs on your side, Trav, because you have a lot of them. Travis is really good at limiting beliefs. He specializes in that. So the third one is understanding how to raise money and being willing to raise money. Now, most of you, there's probably people driving in your car right now, listening to this on the way to work or whatever, and you want to throw up in your mouth a little bit when it comes to raising money. This is not like you're going to call your mother-in-law and sit down and be like, hey, I'm looking for some cat. This is like attracting people to you, creating an ecosystem where people come to you and they ask you for money. I'm not going to get into it, but that's the point. You got to understand how to do it and be willing to do it, right? The fourth, is operations. How do I buy this part, this asset, this commercial building, triple net, and I unlock value? When I unlock value and I actually help somebody else get wealthier, right? I give somebody a return, then I can go ahead and I can take a portion of that because it's a performance-based model and I can win. And the last one, and I'll mention this, is the most important thing, is you got to get around people that are playing the game. You've got to get into the room. I was talking to a guy the other day and he said, what's the number one thing I can do? Because we talked for like an hour, right? What's the number one thing I could do? I said, the number one thing you can do is get around people who are living the life that you want to live through cash flow real estate. They will change the way you think, the way you see the world, the way you approach things. They will shatter limiting beliefs. They will offer mentorship, friendship, collaboration, potential partnerships. All of those things happen when you get around the right people. And what I told him, and I'll be completely bold and honest, you've got to build it or you got to pay for it. Okay. What I mean by that, to get around the right people, you can do that without paying for it. I'll be honest. Like our mastermind, we don't have a monopoly on people or cool or great people doing great things. Okay. And neither does any other mastermind. So you don't have to pay for it. But if you're not going to pay for it, if you're not going to pay for someone else's room that they built, then you have to go build it. And that means connecting with people locally, sourcing, trying to figure out who in my city, who in my town, who in my network or my network's network is living the life that I want to live through this thing called cash flow real estate. Now, it's not impossible. It's not easy. It's going to take you some time, but go do it, because the impact of that, the impact of getting around people, you can't play in the mud pit, right, without getting mud on you. The point is, you're going to become like them. And when you become like them, you start taking actions like them and you get results like them. So the fifth thing, and this is, again, we're trying to break through this ceiling. The fifth thing is getting around people who are doing the thing that you want to do. Most of us spend most of our life taking advice from people who are not living the life we want to live. And that's a challenging thing, right? Because I was taking advice on real estate from people who owned 2 duplexes and hated it. And they were responding to calls, on a weekend to go fix a toilet. So like, I was not doing what I should. I was not surrounding myself with people who were actually there. Once I did, it changed the whole game for me. So those are the 5. Now there's a bucket also. Okay, there's 2 buckets. There's a 5. That's in one bucket. The other bucket has a number of limiting beliefs. And I think we're going to, probably dive into 1 or 2 of those, but I want to at least conceptualize this thing, see yourself on this line, and realize that if you've done something, you've bought a couple homes or duplexes or investment properties, you got some equity and or cash, then you've built the foundation, but you've got to look past that, and you've got to take some time to conceptualize these 5 and work on these 5 to break through. And once you do, you're going to go to, probably the first year, you're going to go to 50, 60 units. The second year, you're going to be 100 to 200. And then once you get there, and I always tell people this inside our mastermind, okay? If I can help you get to 100 units, and not just me, but also the other members, because we're all in the same boat, then you know how to get to 1,000 units, because it's the same thing. It's rinse and repeat. It's find good deals, raise money, operate unlocked value, repeat. And so if you can get to 100 units, you can get to 1,000, you can go as far as you want.
Okay, so thanks, Mitch. Thank you for preaching at all of us. That was a 2-minute intro, and then what was that? Like a 120-minute dissertation.
Well, it was a 2-minute intro, and it was 10 minutes of solid gold for those who want to actually follow it. Yeah. Now, for a guy like you, you might have to watch it 5 or 6 times for it to soak in. But
you're a legend in your own mind, Mitch. God bless you in the fine work you do.
God bless you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last thing. I do agree. I think things really changed when we started getting around people that were doing the thing we wanted to do, or wanted to do the thing we wanted to do. And that started out with just you and I. It was just you and I, because we didn't know anybody. Most people we talked to.
It was a network of 2. It was a mastermind of 2.
Right. It was most people in our daily lives were, they're great, but they're not going to really help us get there. I would say that if you take anything away from that long, boring, preachy dissertation that Mitch just said, no, I'm joking. That is actually the cocktail, but it is getting in the right rooms, because a lot of those other things get unlocked when you get in the right room. Number one, you said that you gave that mud analogy. Yeah, it's scientifically proven, I think, that you become the 5 people you hang out with most, right? So number one, getting in the right room, even if you don't know anything about larger commercial assets, cash flow, real estate, things are going to start happening. One, it's a mindset hack. You're going to be like, wow, Billy over there isn't all that. Like when I met Mitch, I'm like, he's not all that special. He's actually pretty underwhelming as a human. But you're going to go somewhat like, oh, that person can do it. I can do it. So it starts to knock down the limiting belief that larger commercial assets or cash flow real estate is complex, and you're just not smart enough to figure it out. You're going to go, okay, number one, so that it is a mindset hack, right? You start to, and number 2, you start adopting the language. When you get on a call or you get in a room every week with people that are talking about net operating income and forced appreciation and DSCR and, all of these things, you are going to get immersed and you're going to start learning the language, whether you like it or not. You show up, you listen, you're going to start adopting that language. Also, too, I think, and we talked about this off mic the other day, I think getting around people that are doing the thing, you are going to learn the 1,000 things not to do, which is absolutely costly and time consuming. And you're going to learn the 5 things to do. And really, we all have the same amount of hours in the day. So it's going to help you focus your energy on the things that matter to get you where you want to go, to take back control of your life. And I think, to me, that's like huge. Like, oh, I was going to do that, and that, and that. And that guy just got his ass kicked. Or I've heard about a guy getting his ass kicked. oh, I'm going to just avoid all those steaming piles of shit, and I'm going to go focus my energy on the things that really matter. So, I mean, I think a lot of that was the 5 things in your cocktail to scale. I mean, some people think they have to get in the right rooms when they've done the thing, when they've had the success, when they've learned the language, when they take down the first larger commercial.
The second you say, once you're there, you got to get into another room.
Right.
You got to keep.
I think people delay getting around because they have imposter syndrome. They delay getting in those rooms because they think that they need to have done the thing. They need to have learned the language. They need to have, but I would say, no, that's the first thing you need to do. And that's the first thing we did. We created a meetup here in our hometown, and we were like, we have no idea what we're doing, but we are going to just get people together and start talking about it and talking about our journey. And a lot of things got unlocked from that. A, we started learning the language of real estate. B, we started, I guess, hacking our mindset to start thinking bigger and understanding that we too can do this. We also met our first investor. And people think that when you have to raise capital, you have to go sit down at a Starbucks, with your penny loafers on, and you got to get all awkward in your PowerPoint presentation. But when you're out there telling people what you're doing and you're being a thought leader, you're going to attract people to you. And when that was a big mindset hack for me, when I thought, oh, I'm actually providing a service for people with cash, people with money that they want to deploy, maybe diversify outside the stock market, whatever, because they're like, I get cash flow, I get tax benefits, I get wealth accumulation and growth. Oh, so they come to you and they say, hey, I've got this money. I want to invest with you. Let me know when you have something that would make sense. So, I mean, right out of the gate, just getting in the right rooms, you kind of start knocking down all those different dominoes. So case in point, and Mitch said this in a very long way, and maybe I'm saying it also in a long way, get in the right rooms. Whether, and like you said, whether you build the room yourself or you pay to get into a room, because that also compresses time too. Those 1,000 things not to do, that takes years and years and years and beating your head in a wall. So if you can just avoid those things and learn what to focus your energy on, then the rest is going to pop open for you.
Yeah, and I think also just stay focused on what's the outcome? What are you chasing, right? And I think I listened to this guy the other day and he said, we always focus, especially on real estate investors, we focus on ROI, right? Like what's our return going to be on something like a real estate investment, say. But what's the cost of inaction? He said COI. And when it comes to your life, okay, and it comes to like taking steps methodically to achieve the things that you want to achieve, what's the COI? What's the cost of inaction? What's the cost of not doing something? What's the cost of not making the connection locally and going to lunch with somebody who's like an awesome big real estate investor, right? Or building that meetup, or joining a mastermind if you want to compress some time, right? Or save some time. Like, what's the cost of inaction? Are we looking 5 years from now or 10 years from now and you're like, man, I wish I would have built something. Oh man, I wish I would have had more time with my kiddos. Oh man, I wish I would have had more time to be healthy or to go adventure or whatever. Like, to me, the cost of inaction equals one thing, and that is the word regret. And for me, I'm trying my hardest. I'm 40 today, and my goal is when I'm 80 or 90 or whenever, however long I get to live, I look back and I have as little regrets as possible. Like, honestly, that's like my number one goal. Not that I make the most money, not that I, right, all these things, but like, how do I set up my life to where I look back and be like, that was fucking awesome? And I think that we all need to ask that question. What's the cost of inaction? Because guess what? There is a cost to forming a meetup. You got to spend time, or there's a cost to meeting your network, or to get out there and put time into building that network, or there's a cost to joining a mastermind, right? If somebody else has curated and built that thing for you, there's an actual like monetary cost. But what is the cost if you don't? What's the cost if you don't take those steps? What's the cost if you don't break through that ceiling? And once you get that and you dial in the cost of, right, then you realize that like you have an obligation. You got to go take those steps.
And just to get a last word in, because I need to get the last word in, because my gosh.
Yeah, I know. This is the way we do it.
I'm joking. So I think what's probably more tragic than taking action and failing is never taking action and wondering what if. And I think that's where you have the most regrets.
I love it. And I want to add this too, because I want the last word actually. Look, we talk about our mastermind. We talk about openly about our mastermind, and it does cost. It's not cheap. You don't want cheap. Okay. But like you want cheap, go to McDonald's and get a burger or whatever. So here's the point though. Most of you listening here, it's not a good fit. Our mastermind is not a good fit. This is not a sales call for you, but what I'm trying to say or portray is you've got to go. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you join my mastermind or if you find something else that's better, or you build it locally, or it's a meetup, or it's your dad's friend who owns this business in real estate and you can get around. All I'm trying to say is go get around those people. If this is the outcome you want, if this is what you want to do, you have to find those people somewhere. You have to find them, or you will not grow. I meet people all the time. They read all the books, the podcasts, the YouTube videos. They bought all the cassette tapes from so-and-so and so-and-so guru, all these things. They still have 3 or 4 units. It's the people. That's the magic sauce. It's the people you get around.